Hello, all. Welcome to the latest episode of Chasing Green Arrows. I hope you've been fine. Before we start, please like the video, subscribe the channel. It means a lot to us. We're working round the clock in preseason, so any kind of support will be genuinely appreciated. Today, I will be discussing the best Salah and Haaland draft. This is a strategy which a lot of people are considering for their teams. I am not exactly one of them. I don't have both my draft. I don't think I will go ahead with it. But this is for people who are considering both, which is actually the significant majority of FPL managers. So without further ado, I'll jump straight into the draft. In goal, you can have Flecken or Henderson as the 4.5s. One of the things with the Salah and Haaland draft is that you don't necessarily have the funds to spend a lot of money on goalkeepers because, of course, the funds are sort of concentrated on the other end of the field. So you have to go with a 4.5 million goalkeeper. You could go with Flecken, you could go with Henderson. I don't think there's much of a difference. I think over the long term, Flecken is better over, let's say, 12 weeks. But most of the Salah and Haaland drafts that I see are people who are looking to wild card relatively early in the season. In which case, I would go with Henderson. So I've just picked Henderson in this team for people looking at more of a short term horizon. I think both are perfectly fine, to be very honest. Both are solid defenses, and I'd expect them to be in the top performing 4.5 keepers come the end of the season. Uh, as his backup, I have Waldy Marson from Brentford 4.0. Now, the thing with Flecken is he's not actually a very good goalkeeper, and I think he could get dropped at any point. So it's nice to have a 4.0 backup, even if you have Henderson or Flecken. It could sort of give you a chance um, to get a 4.0 starting goalkeeper. Then in defense, I've gone with Trent. Now Trent has been in all of my Salah drafts, all of my Haaland drafts. He was sort of tough to fit in a Haaland and Salah team, but I've ensured that I have Trent here. I just think Liverpool are likely to get off to a quick start, and Arne Slot's defensive record at Feyenoord is really good, and so were his numbers for his fullbacks, right? So his right back actually was very attacking, posting some good underlying data. If Trent comes anywhere close to replicating that with the fixtures he has, I think at 7 million he could represent excellent value. Then the other second defender I have is Pedro Porro. Now he's again been a mainstay in most of my drafts. I don't necessarily rate the Spurs defense that highly, but their fixtures at the start of the season are really good to begin with, especially game week 1, 2, and 5. And Porro was actually top among all defenders for XGI last season. His attacking threat is incredible, and as we've seen in preseason, that he was playing in a very similar role, was he was taking a lot of attacking responsibility. I think if you could sort of manage to rotate him with one of the 4.5s, he's a perfectly good option. I sort of disagree with the notion that at 5.5 million he has to be a auto play every week, because some of his tougher fixtures, for example, Arsenal, Man United, Newcastle, in game week 3, 4, and 6 respectively, are ones where I'd look to bench him. So I've gone with Konza to sort of rotate him with. Konza has Leicester, Everton, and Ipswich in the weeks where Porro has tough fixtures, so he rotates really well. And 4.5, there's not much you can expect. Another defender I've picked is Dan Burn from Newcastle. Now, this is a bit questionable because I'm still not sure which Newcastle defender is the best to pick in this position at 4.5. I'm sure we'll find one. But with doubts over Trippier, with doubts over Livermento, with doubts over Gahey signing, I think Burn may be the safest to begin the season with. So I've gone with Burn. Newcastle have a decent run of fixtures to begin with. And my fifth defender is actually Valentin Barco from Brighton. I'm still not exactly confident in his minutes over the long run, but I think he should be fine in the short term. He has been taking set pieces in preseason, and at 4 million for a guy who's taking set pieces, there's not much more that you can expect. I think he can do really well, especially for his price. Uh, Moving on to the midfield, Salah is there, as you know. Then I've gone with Eze. Eze again is a player I really like. I think he could take up the role of the talisman in the absence of Elise. The only sort of question mark in my head is whether he gets preseason minutes, which I expect him to in the friendly which Palace have. In which case, I think he would be a auto selection in most of my squads. So Eze, in the absence of Elise, could be on set pieces, is very likely going to be on penalties. And Palace under Glasner were fairly attacking. Looking at their opening fixtures, I'd expect them to score in almost all of them. And in which case I would expect Eze to be involved as well as being the talisman. Then I've gone with Nkunku as the 6.5. Again, has played, I think, the highest amount of minutes among Chelsea midfielders in preseason. And his opening fixtures are really good to begin with. I mean, barring Man City, but even that is a game I'd expect Chelsea to score in. So I don't necessarily mind playing Nkunku in that fixture. It's just that whether he can stay fit. I think FPL have gotten most of the prices right this season, but Nkunku is one who potentially has it in him to make a mockery of the price tag. Then it comes to the tricky part, and that's picking the other two midfielders. I've gone with Brenton Diaz from Southampton. He's a new signing, and I sort of understand that Southampton are unlikely to perform really well, but at 5.5, there's not much you can ask for. I think Armstrong and Diaz will sort of have the majority of their goal share. So if Southampton are to score, which I would expect them to in some of their opening fixtures, so they have Nottingham Forest, they have Brentford, Man United at home is a decent fixture, and then they have the Ipswich in Game Week 5. So these are the kind of fixtures where I'd expect Southampton to score in, and if that is the case, then I think Brenton Diaz could be a good option. Then the final mid I've gone with is Rodgers. He's been performing exceptionally well for Aston Villa in preseason, and he's actually likely to start the season as well. And at 5 million, there's not much you can ask for. He can play on the left wing. He can play number 10, so he's versatile. I'd expect his minutes per game to be around 70, 75, but at 5 million, I think he's an excellent option. Moving up front, Haaland is there for obvious reasons. Then there's Isak, who's also very, very popular in the FPL community, given how successfully he performed last season. He was actually second only to Haaland for XG per 90. And in the absence of Callum Wilson, he's likely going to be on penalties, and he's likely going to take up the role of the Newcastle talisman. And the fixture to begin the season with Southampton is really, really appealing. He's actually a borderline game week 1 captaincy option. So yeah, I really like the look of Isak. And the final forward I've selected is Muniz. Now, Muniz is another sort of short-term pick. He can begin the season really strongly, looking at Fulham's fixtures. Man United to begin with is a good fixture. Then Leicester, Ipswich, West Ham at home, Newcastle, Nottingham Forest. I like those fixtures from Fulham. From an attacking point of view, we saw that Muniz was really consistent at the back end of last season. And for managers who are looking to wildcard early and get off to a quick start, I think having a Fulham attacker is desirable, and I think Muniz would probably be my pick, simply because the doubts surrounding Andreas and Smith Rowe's role in the team. So that brings me to the end of the video. Just before I leave, I'd request you once again to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave any feedback that you have in the comments down below. Thank you. Thanks for watching.